The NFL just had the Pro Bowl to end all Pro Bowls, but a week before that, we had the conference championship games. Of course, I already talked about these in detail, but there are still some plays that I'd like to discuss even more. It starts with a guy who's not the core of the Bengals defense, but he's still appealing. The New York Giants picked Eli Apple 10th overall in the 2016 NFL Draft. He was traded to the Saints 2 years later and was widely considered a disappointment, but this year, he's found new life. Now, I'm not saying he's Darrelle Revis or anything like that, but since going to Cincinnati, he's been decent. He's been a solid component of a Bengals defense that's been really good as of late. Now, with that being said, Kansas City was still able to give him some trouble early. Here we see him call a play that sends wide receiver Mecole Hardman in motion. Now, since it's man coverage, we got Apple, a pretty fast guy, against Hardman, who's a very fast guy. This basically turns their matchup into a race to the other sideline, with the faster player getting a head start. Now, Apple does everything he can to try to regain some leverage, but tight end Travis Kelce does a good job setting the somewhat natural pick, and Mahomes puts the ball in a good place where Hardman's momentum will take him into the end zone once he catches it. It's a good play by a great offense, and later in the game, the Chiefs are going to try it again. With time running out in the second half, they do the same concept from a different formation. Now this time, instead of Hardman, the Chiefs run this play with Tyreek Hill, who's even faster. But this time, Apple's ready for it. He stays with Hill all the way to the other side of the field. Now at this point, I thought Mahomes might have been able to run it in if he tried, but with time winding down and no timeouts, you gotta get rid of the ball as soon as you can. Now Hill tried to make a move, but Apple was in good position, and he brought him to the ground 1 yard short of the goal line. Now this was poor clock management by KC, but Apple made an outstanding play here to keep his team in the game. This was good to see because Apple takes a lot of heat. If you look him up on YouTube, you find compilations of him getting burnt. Now obviously, if you're a corner, you can't win every matchup every time. And I think he falls under a microscope because he doesn't quite live up to the expectations of a number 10 overall pick. But with the Bengals, he doesn't really have to. To them, he's a low-risk, high-reward free agent signing, and the reward has been very high. He's come up big for his team in the clutch in back-to-back playoff games. He's the one who made the tip that set up the interception that set up the game-winning field goal in the divisional round. You can't tell the story of the Bengals' road to the Super Bowl without mentioning him. And even though he does fall every now and then, the apple doesn't fall far. Recently, Apple's induced a lot of outrage among Giants and Saints fans by taking shots at them on Twitter. And I can't blame him for doing it, and I can't blame them for getting mad. I only bring it up because a few years ago, an ex-teammate of Apple's warned him that engaging with haters on Twitter isn't good practice. And this ex-teammate is planning to give Apple a lot of trouble this coming Sunday. I think you know who I'm talking about. Much like Apple, Odell Beckham Jr. was traded by the Giants to a team where it didn't work out. But since joining the Rams, he's been awesome. He played a huge role in the NFC Championship, making big plays all game, including this huge fourth quarter catch which set up the game-tying field goal. When all's said and done, this might be Odell Beckham's greatest highlight. I know, he did this once. And he did this. And this, I get it. What sets this one apart is the fact that a trip to the Super Bowl was on the line, and he had to hang on through a cheap shot. Also, it happened right in front of someone Beckham knows pretty well. Josh Norman is 34 and has mostly been a backup this postseason. He's widely remembered for his intense matchup with Beckham 6 years ago, in addition to the one time he got stiff-armed by Derrick Henry. People won't remember his NFC-leading 7 forced fumbles this season, or his strong coverage against Davante Adams in a critical play of the divisional round, because with cornerbacks, we have a tendency to only remember the negative. Because of the reactionary nature of their position, their mistakes are often the most critical. And for Eli Apple, it's no different. Now, needless to say, Beckham is by far the more accomplished player, but he and Apple both fit their new teams beautifully. The problem with their old teams run way deeper than either of them. But I think their time with the Giants makes their matchup on Sunday even more interesting because they know each other really well. Now, I'm guessing Beckham has the edge because it's easier to act than react, but either way, it's going to be a fun matchup to watch. I picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl before the season started. I thought they'd be facing the Bills, and I may have been a coin flip away from getting that right, but I didn't think the Bengals would make it nearly this far. We have two very likable teams facing off for the Lombardi Trophy on Sunday, and either Eli Apple or Odell Beckham Jr. will be holding this at some point at the end of Sunday night. So whoever loses this game should take comfort in knowing that they're not the New York Giants.